The first presentation will be on the Aquarius data management. Then we will have a presentation for the IMOTNET European Data Service for open and fair data and its contribution to the European digital twins of the ocean. Then we will have two presentations for the participating infrastructures to Aquarius, that is SeaDataNet and Eurobis, which will to introduce the data management for marine, ocean and biodiversity data. Then we will see how the metadata of the project's collection activities will be captured, and also we will have a presentation on the submission mechanism for the delivery of the collected data. Finally, in the QA session, we will address the questions and any other issue and discussions that we may need, and we will finalize this webinar with actions for the coming period, the coming months. So let's start with the first presentation. That will be, as I just said, on the data management approach that we will follow in the Aquarius project in order to make the collected data openly available in a fair way. You see in the previous slide all the colleagues that are contributing to this work. So as you of course already know, Aquarius project is offering a highly comprehensive suite of integrated research infrastructures to enable transnational research and data collection for contribution to key European global initiative and policies. The funding projects of the first call, where representatives are here with us today, will use these infrastructures to collect many new data from multiple and diverse scientific themes across 4 European marine regions, the 4 lighthouse regions. And we can see in this diagram on the left this suite of infrastructures, instrument platforms that Aquarius is offering. And on the right part, we can see the 4 regions and some of the data types of the first evaluated proposals. The projects, the transnational access projects, have to apply an open data strategy. And therefore, next slide, please. In Aquarius, we have to ensure that the collected data will be shared and become available in a fair way for all users and applications that are going to contribute to the targets of the European policies and agendas. To ensure such an advanced data management, Aquarius will use open global standards, practices and data flows as these established in the European data management landscape. You can see this data management landscape in the diagram on the left. A diagram that has prepared by Eurobus, and in the bottom there is the data collection level as in Aquarius, and then towards upper layer, the mid layer, there are the data aggregators, which are the European data services, IMOTNET and Copernicus, and then other major data management and thematic infrastructures, which make data available in a fair way to the end users. And in Aquarius project, we're going to use these flows, these infrastructures, and the standards and the tools they are using, and the services as well. More specific, as we will see in the next slide, the Aquarius open data policy will be implemented through a dedicated data management approach to ensure that all collected and generated data and metadata will be managed to become findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And also, we have to ensure that this data will become part of the leading European data management infrastructures for quality assurance, long-term stewardship, and wide access and use. These infrastructures are the sea data net for physical, bathymetric, chemical, biological, and geological data, Eurobis for biodiversity data, Elixir for biogenomics, ICOS Ocean for carbon data, and Copernicus in situ thematic tags, in situ thematic assembly centers for near real-time data. These infrastructures in turn are feeding the two European data services, IDMODnet for in situ data and Copernicus Marine for satellite and forecasting data for models. And these two services, European data services, are also contributed, as I said at the beginning, to the European digital twin of the oceans and other global systems. In Aquarius, in addition, Aquarius will support the open science principles of the European initiative named European Open Science Cloud, the well-known EOSC, something that will be done in synergy with the Blue Cloud project, that is an EOSC project. Let me say here that a recorded presentation for introduction to fairness is available at the project training hub. You see the link on the bottom of the page. It's quite useful to see it and have an idea of what fairness is. Next slide, please. The aim of the data management, of this data management approach is to make data and data products that will result from the TA activities openly available in line with FAIR principles through the infrastructures we just described. And the primary, of course, responsibility for that is lined with the TA teams. The TA scientific teams will be supported and guided by the expert data centers on how to use the standards, the tool, and the services of these infrastructures. Most of these data centers are national oceanographic data centers, which are spread across the lighthouse regions and have the expertise to manage the diverse data types and disciplines that Aquarius project will collect. And the data centers will work with the teams since the start, since the moment that the proposals will be awarded, and in order to make the teams aware of the Aquarius data management approach and support the teams to deploy their data management plans before, during, and after the transnational activities and collection events. The data management approach is described in the data management plan, a project deliverable 6.2 that has been developed by Maris and is available at the link with the DOI that you can see on the lower part of the screen. Next slide, please. So this is the list with the 15 data centers involved in Aquarius. These data centers, as I said, are split per data management infrastructure, lighthouse region, and work package and task involved. And in the next slide, please. Here in this schema, we can have a representation of the data management flow scheme as it described in the data management plan. And this includes all steps from the planning stage to training to deployment up to the publishing. And between these steps, you can see all those components that are involved in these steps and are expanding during the complete life cycle of the data. Next slide, please. Here are some more details of the data management plans. We had the pre-planning phase, which actually is almost finished with the selection of the funding projects. As next, the expert data centers per lighthouse region and theme will review and contact the teams and support them to refine the initial plans that prepared for the evaluation process. And because they need to fit to the data management management approach and its requirements. Then training will be provided on the best practices, standards, and principles that the team have to follow. And we start with this webinar today, where we will explain what metadata you have to collect and how this metadata will be collected. It will be a next presentation by Maris. And also, let me say that the data management plans will be published in the Aquarius data flow dashboard, which will be used for monitoring the whole data flow scheme. In the next slide. So the next step is the deployment phase, where the events will be deployed and the data collection and the processing will begin. During these events, the teams have to log the metadata and maintain a data summary log system, or actually a summary of all the metadata related to the data they collect. There will be extended presentation for that later on by Maris, but just to say that Maris will provide to the teams if applicant tablets with this app. And in case that the events concern a research cruise, then after the cruise, the principal investigator has to prepare a cruise summary report. We will see how this will be done during the CDataNet presentation. And after the events, the team should provide the logs quite soon in order to work further with them. In the next slide, please. After the events, the data center actually start the follow-up for getting for the teams the data and the metadata that they collected. And during this process, the teams will, with the support and the guidance of the data centers, will undertake efforts for transforming data and metadata to the required standards that are used by the European data management infrastructures we described. Some data will be ready earlier than others. For example, if laboratory analysis is required or if some embargo period exists. But in any case, everything should be ready before the end of Aquarius project, because we need some time for the implementation of the final steps of the data management flow, which is the open science practices. So if we go to the next slide, please, to see the final steps on this process. After the publishing of data and metadata into the data management infrastructures, the next steps concern the open science practices. Of course, this is for later on. And just for your information, there will be also training later on in the project for the training on the Blue Cloud VRE and its applications, and also the training will include the training and the practice also will include performing analytics in the Blue Cloud VRE for partners, for the TA teams to produce with the data after merging them with data from other repositories in order to produce data products. And when everything will finish, these data products and any publications, if any, if there exist, will be published in the Blue Cloud catalog, which is shared with the EOSC. And also will be published in the Zenodo Open Data Repository. For these last steps, as I said, there will be extra webinar later on in the projects when the first results will be ready. And I think this was the last presentation for the data management approach. And I think now we are ready for the next presentation concerning InModNet and Edito. Connor, you can take over.
Stacey, thank you for having me here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, please.
Hi all, I'm just going to give a high-level overview of InModNet and Edito to try and put some context into the value of data sharing and the importance of open data, and how, just to give you an insight of what happens as data gets well shared. So the first slide here, I'm just referring to InModNet as a central service of DG Mare. We have a central portal hosted on the European Commission domain. When you go there, there is a map viewer and there is a catalog, plus lots of information about each of the different thematics. We have 7 thematics listed there. and I do encourage you to go there. We are sort of we call it as the gateway for in situ marine data in Europe and beyond. Which sounds a bit like something from a Hollywood movie, I think, something beyond. Anyway, there is also a sister service called Copernicus Marine, which you're aware of, and they look after modeling and Earth observation data of the marine. So we have two complementary services. Next slide, please. So what we are very interested in is observations from the seabed geology up to the top of the water column and human activities up there. And so that is how we're broken down into the 7 thematic domains. So we're interested in the data sets from all these, from the different data providers and different observation programs. And the eModNet thematic domains capture data or harvest data and produce eModNet products, which are available on the eModNet portal. And these products can be in the form of maps, or they could be actually in the form of data sets that have been collated together. It depends on the thematic. They do things slightly differently. Next slide, please. So this is, well, I noticed the formatting has been broken here, but apologies about that. This work is done not by the central eModNet secretariat or the central eModNet team that hosts the central portal, but by a network of subject matter experts. I see Cece's in this picture as well, who know all about their areas and know how the data is brought together to make the products in particular. So we have quality of the product starts at the very beginning, and they understand their domain, they understand their community, and they understand the different where the data is coming from. Next slide, please. So I just noticed up here that we have, this is an old slide, that we have core goals. Well, actually, it's not core goals, it's core principles, core tenets of eModNet. And I'll explain it to you now, and relate it back to FAIR. So we are driven initially by the INSPIRE directive, which is the European Union's directive on spatial data infrastructure. Now, we'll relate this back to the FAIR principles with findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So our data products are findable through our geospatial catalog. They're accessible because we have no logins or anything like that. You can just directly download data from eModNet. They're interoperable because we use both Open Geospatial Consortium web services and OpenDAP RESTful services to allow you to query the data sets. But you can also download the data sets directly, or the data products directly. And they're reusable because we publish under the the Creative Commons by 4.0 Open Data Directive, which allows, or Open Data License, which allows you to reuse the data for any purposes, so long as you give reference to it and you recognize where it came from. So these are what our guides publication of our products through eModNet. And it's obviously to be findable, metadata is very important. And the web services were very important that we follow standard web services, so people don't have to relearn their skills every time when they want to use our system. And of course, it's multidisciplinary because we have many different thematics. This is a big challenge for us: is how do you publish all these different products from many different thematics in a way that is as straightforward or without having to make people do things differently every time. And this is why we rely so much on OGC services and OpenDAP services to publish this stuff. Next slide, please. So if you go to eModNet, you'll come to a map viewer, and I just want to add this up here. In the right-hand side there, you can see bathymetry and also data from wind farms, which comes from human activities. And the map viewer is not a GIS system; it's a system for allowing you to find the data products you want and download the data for use on your PC. So on the right-hand side there, you can actually draw a box on this map, and it will subset the data that's inside the box, and you can download the subset of data across multiple layers. Next slide, please. Similarly, we have a catalog, and everything that's in the map viewer is also in the catalog. And in the catalog, we have a lot more products than are in the map viewer. But what we have in the map viewer, I think we're around 600 layers in the map viewer, are the principal products of eModNet. as determined by the thematic lots. The subject matter experts and thematic lots have identified the products that are most important, plus the commission has a list of products that they particularly want in the map viewer. But you can also find them in the catalog, and in fact, the map viewer just gets the data from the catalog in the first place. Next slide, please. We also have another catalog. We have an AirDoc catalog for gridded data sets. So this is a particular technical challenge for us to use gridded data sets. So when you're in the map viewer and you're downloading data, you'll either be downloading data from through the AirDoc server or through our OGC services in the catalog. But this will be, you won't see this. We handle it in the background in the map viewer. And I mentioned this because if we go on to the next slide, please. Because we were using web services. We use public web services. We've created web services. The same web services that are available to you if you go to GitHub or you go to the EMODnet portal are the same ones that we use in the map viewer. There's no secret hidden sauce going on in the background. We do this intentionally and even to make it as easy as possible and as transparent as possible to access the data, the valuable data products that are produced by the EMODnet team. So next slide there, please. So this leads me on to the EDITO and the European Digital Twin of the Ocean. So this is basically a digital transformation project between Copernicus Marine and EMODnet. And what we are looking at is trying to think about future and also the present, particularly what type of technologies and skill sets are coming out of the universities with people studying IT, for example, or how people now interact with technology and how we can speed up reuse of our products and solve big data challenges. So to do that, we have created a high-speed, high-performance data lake in a data center. It's actually in Poland, where Copernicus Marine already have their huge data sets. These are genuinely big data sets, massive volume. And we've copied the EMODnet products from the map viewer to sit side by side with the Copernicus Marine data. Our data in EMODnet doesn't fit the criteria of big data in terms of volume, but it fits it in terms of variety. We have a huge variety of data. And the idea being that rather than take data to you, that you take code to the data. So we go on to the next slide, please. So if you've used cloud services like Amazon or Google or Microsoft or any of the others, this type of interface is probably familiar to you. You run virtual machines, you have a service catalog, you can run Jupyter Notebook on service on virtual machines, you can request different size virtual machines. The key value is the high-speed connection to the data. And this is the key important offering. Now, this service is being offered as a complementary service to the existing services of Copernicus Marine and EMODnet. It doesn't replace them. It just allows us to meet the needs of data scientists who we expect to use our data services to do digital twin projects. Next slide there, please. So if you've used R, you can see this familiar workbook. You can fire it up in a virtual machine, and you can see the amount of, on the right-hand side, the resources that are being available and how what resources you request and how much resources you got. Next slide there, please. And we have also a technology called the Spatial Temporal Asset Catalog operating in there. And the Spatial the Stack Catalog has the EMODnet data products in it and the Copernicus Marine data products in it. And this is a technology that's very popular among cloud providers. And it was came out of the Earth observation sector when Earth observation data was being utilized on the cloud to make it to sort of allow people to access that data much quicker. The spatial asset stack catalogs were developed. They're very simple technology. They're just text boxes, not as sophisticated as, say, our own EMODnet catalog, but they suit the purpose needs in this type of data science environment. So the idea being that you can use this catalog to find the URL links to the data, which you can then use within your workspace on EDITO. So we just go on to the next slide there, please. And the reason why I mentioned that is, if you see in the center of this slide, a calculation was done that if you're operating inside a Ditto using the workbooks, you have 5 times faster access to the data than you would do outside if you're on a fiber optic link. And this is the key offering of something like a Ditto. Next slide there, please. I'll just give you a timeline of the Ditto project. We're going into a Ditto 2 now, which will finish in 2028, and we're already thinking about a Ditto 3 and how Ditto is seen as a core pillar of the services from the Commission with the Copernicus Marine, EMODnet, and Ditto. And they all have different, they're all trying to service different types of user, but we're also making sure to try and have as much synergies as possible so that the resources are well used. Next slide there, please. So, of course, the big vision is that we're going to be able to build digital twins of the ocean. But to do that, we have to be able to access data as quickly and as easily as possible so that people can combine the data to do work. And this was extremely important that projects publish their data. That's especially if they're funded by government or by Europe, they have to publish it under Open Data Directive. So it's very important that they include a proper metadata with their data. And it's great to hear that Aquarius is very much involved in doing this. The type of people involved in the Aquarius project are all subject matter experts in this type of stuff. So I'm just trying to give you a presentation here of what happens at the far end of the pipeline when your data is well published. So that's it. Thank you. I do recommend you follow the link at the bottom. It gives a really nice spinny globe that you can play with. Thank you very much for having me here.
Yes, indeed, very interesting. Thank you very much, Connor, for this presentation on EMODnet and Editor. It's sure that we will use both very much in the coming period.
Sorry, Sissy, just one last point. I just want to point out, because people forget, if your data gets reused in EMODnet or using EMODnet in an EMODnet product, it automatically ends up in the Ditto.
Yes, exactly. And this is the point here, that what Aquarius will gather, what data Aquarius will gather, should be made available to EMODnet and DTO for Editor and DTO for wider use, because this is the scope of these activities, to support all these global initiatives for the good of the science and the good for all the society. So this is the point also for putting this webinar here, to make people understand why we will use EMODnet, why we will use the other infrastructures like CDataNet and Eurobis that we'll see later on, which are the, let's say, connectors between the data collectors with EMODnet, Copernicus, and the global system. This is the idea. And Editor puts everything on cloud environments and digital representations of the ocean. So the idea is how Aquarius will efficiently contribute to this big idea. So thank you very much, Connor, for this presentation. And I suggest people to follow the links that Connor is presented. So let's continue. Yes, the next one is by me. I will give an overview of the CDataNet pan-European infrastructure. Actually, I am represented data center, the Hellenic Oceanographic Data Center, which is a member of CDataNet. And so, as I said, yes, let's go. Yeah. As I said at the beginning, CDataNet will be one of the core data management infrastructures that will be used in Aquarius to guide in a fair way the data that will be collected by your projects to end users and applications like Editor. So next, this it's okay. You see on this screen our network. Actually, CDataNet initiated by a European network of oceanographic data at the 90s during the first European Commission framework programs, and later on through the years through a number of research and technological development projects, CDataNet developed and expanded the data management capacity of the NODCs, the National Oceanographic Centers, for the whole Europe. CDataNet provides harmonized discovery and access service to marine and ocean data that are coming from many and diverse data sources, organizations, and projects. Also is developing and promoting fair standards, and also is developing, maintaining, and provide freely tools and services that are using these standards that have been developed. Another important component, another important activity is that SeaDataNet is training and support its network of NODCs to stay up to date with these new standards and best practices developments in order to include them in their daily operations. With all this data from all this variety of sources, SeaDataNet is developing and publishing integrated data products such as temperature and salinity data collections and climatologies. And over the years, SeaDataNet became a major player in the European and marine data management landscape we saw before, and support European initiatives like IDMOTNET, we just saw, the Copernicus Marine, the Blue Cloud, the EOS, and of course this is done working with other research infrastructures that are using the standards that SeaDataNet is developing. And actually SeaDataNet is the link between the data collectors and all these European infrastructures. And since 2019, SeaDataNet is a legal AI-SBL entity. Next slide, please. SeaDataNet has developed and is maintaining a number of pan-European metadata catalogs, giving overviews of organizations and their engagement in marine research projects, the data set they manage and collect by research vessels and monitoring activities at European and global seas. A core service is the Common Data Index, the CDI, which includes detailed information, detailed metadata for the data sets, and provides discovery and access to this data. The catalogs are all linked together following the linked data principles, such as linkages with persistent identifiers and vocabularies. For example, for an organization, we can see what data exists, from which projects they came from which cruises, and so on. And the catalogs can be queried either by the user interfaces that you can see on the screen, which includes multiple searching criteria, or we can be queried through machine-to-machine services you can see on the list on the screen. Next slides, please. As we said, SeaDataNet is developing and maintaining and using standards for data harmonization, standardization, formatting, and quality control, and it's making its metadata, data, and services fair for both humans and machines. Standards are used in all SeaDataNet metadata catalogs, and for the data themselves, two exchange formats are used: the ODV ASCII and the NetCDF. Both are fully supported by control vocabularies, which have international governance. They have also web services offered by BODC partner, and these vocabularies are globally used by many organizations and projects. Also, SeaDataNet is collaborating with international organizations such as the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO and ICES for improving standard quality assurance and quality control procedures. Next slide, please. Through the years and through the cooperation with many projects and different communities, SeaDataNet modified the two basic data formats to fit multiple purposes and needs. And by today, SeaDataNet has developed formats for different data types that can be used and reused in a fair way. Such formats are for physics, chemistry, biology, bathymetry, high-frequency radar, calendar, and so on. In this way, the control vocabularies are continuously expanding with new lists and terms. Currently, there are more than 120 lists, which contain more than 97,000 terms. These are available not only through interfaces, but also through several web services and tools. You can have a look in the bottom of the screen. You can have a look in the CDataNet the vocabularies that are offered by the CDataNet. Next slide. So this is the CDI data discovery and access service that provides an integrated and harmonized search and access to the data that are managed locally by the distributed network of data centers. And the data centers use common standards and tools to reformat and quality control the data, and then share this metadata to the CDI catalog for discovery and access. And currently we have more than 3.1 million CDIs entries provided by almost 120 data centers from 34 countries around the European and global cities, and originated from more than 1,000 organizations. And these numbers are continuously increasing because of the activity of the networks, and many of these datasets are global datasets because the data centers are active and at global scale. Next slide, please. So through all this wealth of data and services, CDataNet is supporting many initiatives and services like IDMONet we just saw. I will not go further to that because we heard from Connor what IDMONet is. I just want to give you some examples. For example, for CDataNet contribution to IDMONet, you can see on the lower part of the screen that the data that the CDataNet is feeding IDMONet are used for products preparation. For example, there are prepared bathymetric maps, the digital terrain model for European seas, or within IDMONet chemistry, there are prepared eutrophication and contaminant data collections, and eutrophication maps for the needs of the marine strategy framework directive needs. And also the CDataNet network of NODCs is used for validation, standardization, and long-term stewardship of the data that are submitted to IDMONet through its ingestion service. This submission mechanism will be used in Aquarius, and we'll see the next presentation on that by Maris. So a few words for the tools that and services that CDataNet is providing. As you can see on this list, many tools and services that CDataNet develop and providing completely free. But for the needs of this work in this project, next slide, please. I will not go through the details, many details, because the economy of time, but you can see here the three tools that we are focusing, the four tools actually we are focusing within Aquarius, and will be mostly used by the TAE scientific teams. It is the NEMO formatting tool, Octopus format checker tool, the Mikado tool for generated metadata, and the Sinoem. Publishing and DOI maintain services. All these tools are developed and maintained by Ifremer. Next slide, please. Some slides that will be useful for you. We will not say many words now because of time, but you can advise these slides later on together with the links I will give you in order to practice and become familiar with these CDataNet tools that will be very useful to you in the coming months for processing the data that you collect. The first one is the NEMO that will use to convert any ASCII format to the CDataNet file standard formats. NEMO covers many thematics and can cover three types of data files: profile, time series, and trajectories. If you go in the next slide, we can see some screenshots of NEMO. On the left, you can see the settings where you can play with the settings of the NEMO. The settings are all those parameters that you have to put into NEMO in order to prepare your files into the standard output formats. And on the left, you can see on the homepage, you can see there are some very, very useful links to download the software, the manual, and examples to practice with. One very useful functionality is the Nemo, is the model that Nemo uses. If you want, it's a template. If you want to massively produce data files and reuse it many times. The next one, next slide, please. The next one is the Octopus, which is used for checking the CDataNet files that you are producing. Also in the homepage of Octopus, there are some many useful information, also presentations and videos that you should advise and use them. In the next slide, please. This is the Mikado, another important tool which prepares metadata in XML format for the CData for inclusion into the CDataNet catalogs. And actually, you will use this tool to prepare the query summary reports in XML format for inclusion into the CDataNet metadata catalog. Also, you see here some screenshots of Mikado and links for download the tool and examples. In the next slide, I think it's and I will conclude with the SINOE data publishing and the DOI maintain service, which can give you a DOI very, very soon. And SINOE is linked with ingestion, and because a semi-automatic exchange has been established between these two services, everything that is submitted in SINOE are duplicated to ImmoNet ingestion and then to ImmoNet. And also SINOE can be used for data that are under embargo in the first stages of the project. And the last slide, which is links, as I said, where you can find for all these tools, the software to download, manuals and examples to practice with. And also, when needed, the help desk of the project is maintained by Ifremer, who developed these tools. The help desk is available for you. And I think I finalized. We are ready now to go to the next presentation for the EuroBIS infrastructure, the second important infrastructure that will be used in Aquarius. So, Ruben, the words are yours.
Do you see my screen already?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, thank you.
All right, nice. So thanks everyone for having me. I'm Ruben Perez-Pere, work in the Flanders Marine Institute, Vlies, and today I'll be talking about marine biodiversity data management in the framework of EmmoNet Biology and EuroBIS. We've talked a little bit about EmmoNet already. Connor talked about it, Cici have talked about it, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but just to maybe conclude or sum up, the aim of the whole EmmoNet is to observe, standardize, and disseminate marine data from all different lots. And I will focus on the biodiversity data, which some of you will be producing or will be creating. So I'll help you to find out how we will deal with it. But first, what is EmmoNet Biology? EmmoNet Biology is a consortium. It's led by Vlies, but there are like 30 organizations, around 30 organizations spread all across Europe. And we provide support for EU-funded projects like Mission Ocean projects, but also the European Union member states, other institutions, and the regional sea conventions. We provide support in the data management of marine biodiversity data. Now, the goal in EmmoNet Biology is to manage, publish, and curate marine biodiversity data, right? We, on top of that, we also create and publish data products based on that data and publish a few reports. But now, how does it come together? What data is it and how it is data? For the moment, maybe it's relevant to mention that EmmoNet Biology, as part of EmmoNet, is created in 2009, and it joins an already existing infrastructure, which is EuroBIS, which forms part of the OBIS network, which is a global initiative with the same aim. of bringing together biodiversity data, marine biodiversity data. Because they have the same scope, and because EMONET is the European Service for Marine in situ data, they start collaborating. And you see that from 2009, when EMONET Biology joins EUROBIS, up until today, the amount of records that you have in these plots multiplies, and it grows a lot. And this is because of all that mobilization effort. Currently, these two initiatives share the same data, right? Currently, we have more than 1,400 data sets. We have more than 40 million occurrence records. And these occurrence records, where do they come from? This is something that I would like to clarify for everyone, that within the Aquarius projects, we like to be publishing these data sets. Well, there are several sources for these types of data. They can come from eDNA, they can come from tracking or biologging, they can come from acoustic monitoring, plankton imaging, historical data sets, and the more commonly known field surveys or monitoring programs, citizen science. As you can see, all the marine biodiversity occurrences data, in situ data, can be pulled into EMONET Biology and the EUROBIS initiatives. Now, I also talk about these more than 100 million measurements or facts. What are those measurements or facts? So in EMONET Biology and EUROBIS, we do not only deal with occurrences data, presence and absence, but we also look at other information about these occurrences. For example, organism quantifications, such as biomasses, abundances, and things like that. Species biometrics, length, for example. Organism characteristics is what we commonly call facts, could be sex, life stage, size classes, and all those categorical values associated to our biodiversity occurrences. And of course, abiotic measurements that are related to those occurrences could be salinity, temperature, sediment type, and things like that. Something very important to compare data sets to each other is the sampling methodologies, sampling effort, and also habitat descriptions. All right, so as you see, it's not only occurrences data, but full biodiversity information. Now, how do we bring all these different types of data together? Because they have different methodologies, they have different groups of people that work in them. Well, we have standardization best practices. We use a common format that is not only shared by EMONET Biology and EUROBIS or the whole OBIS network, but that is also spread across the biodiversity informatics community, which is Darwin Core for the moment. In this case, the format is just a defined structure of the data sets. Each data set is going to be divided in a number of tables, and each of them are going to have a very specific set of column names and some very specific information for the content of those ones. To standardize all those values and all those column names, we will use a number of control vocabularies and data and metadata standards. In the case of control vocabularies, we will use WORMS, the World Register for Marine Species, for taxonomy, to standardize our taxonomy. For the geography, we will use marine regions. For these measurements or facts that I talked about before, we will use the BUDC NERC vocabulary server vocabularies. For the metadata, we will use the EML, the ecological metadata language, and for the general structure of the data sets, we will use what we've called before Darwin Core OBIS ENV data formats, which I will share a few documents on how, if you want to follow some guidance on how to produce these data sets, you can do it. Now, what's the whole point of using all these standards and control vocabularies, Wes? Well, I just bring a crab here just for illustration. Any of us, probably from different countries, can name this crab in many different ways, and you will say, sure, but then we have the scientific names. Well, taxonomy is also a very complex word, and in this case, this species has many different scientific names. Some of them have been unaccepted or they have been invalidated in the past, but the thing is that they are in use. They are still in use, maybe not recommended, but some people use them. These are all synonyms, right? So to standardize all these names, we use control vocabularies, and this is where, in the example of WORMS, comes by. All of these names are going to be linked in WORMS to this code that I just added here. And thanks to that, we will be able to refer to this specific crab when we do searches, for example, of these species. But this is just one example. Now, once we've taken care of all this standardization, we can create a number of services on top of it. For example, some of these are in the left side. I show a snapshot of a quality control tool that we have to quality control these Darwin core datasets. So if datasets are formatted in Darwin core, you will be able to put them in this quality control tool, and it will show you which potential mistakes your datasets have, helping to increase the quality of that dataset. On the right side, you have data portals and catalogs. Thanks to having the dataset standardized with controlled vocabularies, we will be able to create these data portals, for example, that will allow for more intelligent queries on the database, and not just taxonomy, but maybe taxonomy mixed with temporal coverage, mixed with other information. Now, I guess in terms of or what's more relevant for the people in the Aquarius project that will be gathering and sharing data with marine biodiversity data with the ammonite biology, all this is how to submit the data. Well, there are a number of options, and you choose the one that is more relevant for you or easier. Just pick one. You can, if you're already familiar with the biodiversity informatics community, you can use an IPT instance, or you can use the GBIF API, for example. Of course, you can also do it via email to several of these players. You can send your datasets to Emmonet in this email. You can share your datasets to EuroOBIS. For EuroOBIS, we have an email, we have a website form. You can also look for any other OBIS node if you're in a different region of the world. If that's relevant for you, you can also share your datasets with GBIF. In this case, the added value, or for example, you can share your datasets through the Emmonet ingestion service, which is another way to share your data through Emmonet. Now, the point of all this, and the reason why you can share your datasets with any of these initiatives, is that we talk to each other. So Emmonet, OBIS, and GBIF talk to each other, and all the datasets that go to GBIF end up in Emmonet, and all the datasets that go to Emmonet end up in GBIF, and the same thing with OBIS. So you just pick one of them, the one that is more relevant for you because of proximity or because of scope, and stick to that one. And of course, all that datasets, as it was described before, it will end up in the DTO, right? In the data lake of the DTO, of the European DTO. Now, sharing the data, it's that easy. Now, there are some requirements. And the requirements is that not all the data is welcome. Of course, it needs to fall within the scope of Emmonet biology and EuroOBIS. So it needs to be in situ taxonomic data. We've shared some of the examples before. It needs to adhere to Darwin core. And for that, I will share guidelines later. Ideally, and this is the easiest way, you would share it via an IPT instance. But this is something that we can see later as the project advances. And the data quality of the datasets need to adhere to the Emmonet biology quality criteria. And for that, we will also share some tools that you can use to quality control your datasets so you know what the requirements are. And ideally, all the datasets would have open licenses, although embargoes are possible on a temporary basis. So that's also an option. And we do not deal with datasets, biological datasets resulting from experiments, lab experiments, or models, because we want in situ data, natural in situ marine data. Now, we also have, ideally for sensitive species or sensitive data, there are some guidance as well. So this is something interesting that you can use when submitting datasets. And now, these are a number of tools that you will have at your disposal when you start working with these datasets.
Excuse me, Ruben, if we could finalize in 1 or 2 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I just have a couple of slides. So here you have a few guidelines. We have an online free course that you can follow. We have a number of manuals. We have quality control tools. We have templates to format your datasets. And even guidances to create data products. So any of these will be shared with you as part of the presentation, so you can look at them later in detail. And this is just the final slide, where the whole point is how is this data going to be shared? Well, you will need to reformat the data sets to to the required format of MONET biology and EuroBis if you want to share it and that data ending in the DTO. Everyone is connected. Maybe the when is relevant as soon as possible. We're free to help and support from the day one. And I think that's all. This is just a summary of what I've been talking about. So in sense of time, it makes sense to stop here. Thank you. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer later.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ruben. We will have the questions afterwards. And we can now continue with the next presentation by Dick's Hub. Dick, will you share your screen?
I'll try to share. One moment. Where is it? Where is my presentation? Yeah, it's here. Okay. Can you see it full screen? Yeah.
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm Dick Schaap. I'm from Maris, and I'm also, let's say, the work package 6 leader. That's for the data management package in Aquarius. Now, if you look at already, Sissy explained to you, let's say, the data management approach, and I will focus a little bit on step 4, which is in fact the step that you, let's say, you go to see, you start collecting data, and during that step, let's say, we would like for you to keep more or less a data summary log, and that will be supported by an app that we can provide to you. And the idea of this log is that we get that you make notes on the observations that you take on a daily basis, and also that on notes on who are the involved researchers, and also what kind of instruments, what kind of equipment are you using to perform these collections. And that will give in the end, let's say, after the real field work, let's say, that will you will provide that summary report to us by a submission. And then the data centers, let's say, they can use that as a way of having a good overview of all the kinds of data that have been collected. And also they, between themselves, can then better, let's say, divide the work, because we have, as we say, we have representatives of different European data management infrastructures. And also these represent different data types. So we heard EuroBis, especially for biodiversity. But if you have physics or you have chemistry, then you deal with CDataNet. And if you have carbon, then you could deal with ICOS. And that's why, let's say, it's very good for us, let's say, to have this detailed overview, because that will help us to better, in fact, better work with you together on making the data fit. You heard already from my colleagues a lot of words about the formats that we're using. And of course, it's a lot to hear in one go, but it will be done gradually. Let's say it's you can explore, you can analyze, and the moment that you have real data, etc. Of course, the data centers will help you together, say, to go through these applications and make your data fit for the purpose. So it's not something that we just send you a bunch of documents and we say, well, do it yourself, but we really help you there. That's but in this first stage, let's say we start with this, let's say, this summary. And this summary is, like I said, it's an app. We have a metadata model. And the idea is, in fact, that this summary will then be provided both to the data centers as well as also to the Aquarius data flow dashboard. Because this data flow dashboard, it keeps track of the different steps in the whole process of the data management approach. So we are very transparent. And that means that your summary will be published, let's say, after you have submitted and it is okay. Let's say it will be published also on this dashboard. Now, if we go a little bit into this data model, it's just a little bit in detail. Let's say it first of all, it gives some characteristics of your project, who are involved and what's the title, what's the goal, what area, what time. Then who are the involved researchers. And in fact, this whole metadata model has been largely inspired by the cruise summary report, which is done, let's say, as a traditional way to give a summary on cruises, research cruises. But in Aquarius, we are not only working with vessels, but we're also working with other types of research infrastructures. But anyway, we derive this, let's say, as a general purpose data model. Another thing of the data model is then, let's say, which infrastructures you are using, and also what equipment you are using, because there is a whole pool of equipment. And equipment in this case, let's say, it could be a platform with a device type and then a specific type of instrument that you are using to collect your data. And all these elements, let's say, later then come together in the observation. So you make a couple of records per day, let's say, depending on what you are collecting. And these are the events, the collection events, and they make use of the other tables, more or less, let's say, to have to fill it in. And therefore the app has been set up in such a way that it's first, at the beginning, you have to more or less configure your project. And that means that you know what infrastructure you're going to use, you know the researchers in your team, you know the specialities, let's say, that you're going to apply, you know what kind of instruments you're going to use. And those things, these are all supported by what we call controlled vocabularies, because we really love semantics in our work, because that, as was explained, that makes it much more easily to connect things. But anyway, let's say these libraries can be quite long, but in the beginning, therefore, you start in the application simply to trim down those lists to those elements which are relevant for you, so that at the moment that you really go to see and you're going to collect, then the observations, you only have to choose every time from limited lists which are already relevant for you, and you don't have to go browse through all these long lists again. And that's why this is set up. So the first step that you do is in fact configure the project and configure the libraries. And that's shown here a little bit. So you have a list of organizations that is supported by the Atmo directory that CData maintains. Of course, we will make sure that your organizations which are in your teams will be available in that list, so that you can really choose them. You don't have to say, I missed them. Then you have to enter your researchers that are in your team. And you only enter, let's say, those things which are, let's say, which are public, which you want to, like an ORCID, and the name and the organization. Also, we ask for an email, but the email is only used internally. So we will not publish your email on the web, but it's simply we use it internally to know if we have to contact a researcher about some data sets, then we have the address. Then you also go to a list, a couple of CData vocabularies, and those are especially relevant for countries, for the data category, the discipline, the device type, the platform types, the C area. But like I say, these are all long lists, but you have to trim them down in this first moment that you configure your app. So that you later you only choose from limited lists. Now here are some examples. Then you go, let's say, to create the project, and the project already, say, makes use of those trimmed down lists, because then we ask you a short name, a long name, and we ask you some summary. But also then we ask you to tell us which lighthouse region are you working in. So we have 4, and also who are the researchers, and then you can click them simply from that support list. And then on the right here you see, let's say, a detailed page what you have filled in. And in this case, I made the project for Sissy and myself, so we are the ones used in this example, but simply to illustrate. Also, then the last step is, in fact, when you really going to measure, you're going to take collections. And then, of course, you have different collections, could be samples, could be direct collections, could, et cetera, et cetera. And all these things, in fact, then you start making this observation records. And it's only metadata, by the way. It's not the data, it's all metadata, because it's all to give us a summary and an overview. And there's also a geo-gridding, and which is simply a map that you can click on some grids, let's say 1 by 1 cells, to show you where in which area you were. And in the end, you get then, say, a detailed observation on the right. And every day, let's say, there could be a couple that you collect, because you can also have, of course, sometimes that you do let's say, you put a station out for a couple of days, so you don't have to repeat it every day as an entry, but you make, of course, an entry for multiple days then immediately. But anyway, every day the chief, I would say, the principal investigator is responsible of collecting this metadata and keeping it up to date with input from the different scientists who are in the team. And then at every day, let's say, you build up, and then you can, when it's complete, you can submit it to online. You can submit it online, let's say, to the AQUARIUS data flow dashboard. You can also submit it several times. So if you say during the write you want to try it out, you can send, because every time we keep track in the log of the submissions, but of course we only use the last one, so the most complete one. And the moment that you say, well, this is really the final one, then we can then we will use that to check and also to publish it then at the data flow dashboard, and use it then as the list by which we can operate further with you, let's say, to start working on the data itself. And it's in fact an obligation, so we really want you to use this. It's part of the data management approach. So we will provide you the app, and can also, if needed, we can also provide you a tablet. So if you say, I don't have an Android tablet, we will of course give you some specifications about this, but if you don't have it yourself, then please make it known to us so that we can provide you a tablet. And we have to look at the logistics a little bit. Let's say that the planning, of course, in time of the different TA projects, because we have 9 so far. And if they're all at the same time, we will need 9 tablets, but that can be overcome. But in practice, it will be different. That's for sure. Also, there's already said this, next to having this data summary log, we also want you to make a cruise summary report. If it is a research vessel cruise, because we always want to cover all the cruises in the cruise summary report database, and that should be done 1 month after the cruise. And of course, a lot of the data which is in the summary you can use, let's say, to prepare that cruise summary report, because it's again a little bit of more aggregation, but you can use that. Now we will soon provide you distributions instructions, so how you can get the access to the app, and also the question if you need a tablet. Then what we will do is we also will make use later in the project of AMONET ingestion, because already my colleagues have explained to you what AMONET is about, and also that we have these thematics. But we also, next to all these thematics, we also have an ingestion service, and the ingestion service, in fact, is supporting all the different thematics. And that's a way by which we are chasing and getting more data in from external services. But we are also using it in the case of projects, that when we support a research project, and in this case the TA projects, we use it as a mailbox, more or less like a mailbox, because behind the ingestion are the data centers. So from the mailbox we receive it in a certain way, and then we can forward it to the right data centers, which will take care of you, say, in the further processing and distribution. Now, AMONET ingestion itself is already for quite some while in operation. It has a couple of services. One of course, the most important one is the data submission. That's the mailbox by which you can enter with metadata also your data. And then there is a discovery and access service, and that has been combined with the catalog services of AMONET. And we have also an online, because we not only deal with delayed mode data, but we also deal with operational data, let's say a lot. And therefore AMONET ingestion works together with AMONET physics. So we have also a modus for connecting operational providers in a near real-time way, in a real-time way. Also, we provide a lot of guidelines. In fact, a lot of the guidelines that you heard today for CData and for Eurobus, they're also mentioned in the AMONET ingestion, and also for geology and for some other domains. And finally, we have a large network of expert data centers, because in fact we have many of the CData data centers in AMONET ingestion, and also we have all the coordinators of the different AMONET lots in AMONET ingestion, by which we have access then, so that we can really deal with, say, all the types of data that are provided and which are useful for AMONET and the thematic lots. And of course, in the end, then, let's say, for the wider distribution of the products and resulting collections. If you go to the central portal, AMONET ingestion used to be also a separate entity, but is now fully integrated. And therefore, you can go to the AMONET portal, and you go to the themes, and then you can find also ingestion. And it has its pages, and it has also the submission service there, and all the other services. On the right, you see a poster, a little bit how the process is. There's also a very nice video on this, but it really is like seen as a sort of factory. Let's say you mail something, and then it gets into process, and at the end it will be published in 2 stages in AMONET and in the. So what the end is then. You can make use of this submission service of the AMONET ingestion, because that's an easy general mailbox, and then we make sure that we receive it. The only thing is that we expect already that to be well-formed metadata and data. So what my colleagues explained, you will make use of this service the moment that you really have done your homework together with us, in support with us, say, to make your data sets and your metadata conform to the standards that we are using and that we need, because otherwise we cannot take it up. And the good thing is that you learn over time how to do this, and of course we hope that you then will continue to do that also in other projects that you have, and that will make the flow of data much more streamlined and more harmonized, and in the end you will be the big winner, because you can use then much more data from all your colleagues in a common way. And that's also what I explained was with the AMONET products and with the Edito. There is more and more facilities for researchers to combine data and to work on data and make derived products and and all kinds of algorithms, and that can only be work very well, let's say, if all the data is following FAIR principles, and that's the way to do it. Another thing is that if you are using the ingestion and you have, let's say, data from different disciplines, like say geology, some bathymetry, and some biodiversity, please separate those packages, because like I say, we have to reroute those packages to different data centers, and having that already split beforehand, of course, makes it easier to forward certain packages. And the good thing is that both myself and also Sissy, we are we say a little bit the masters of Emonet ingestion, because we are the coordinating team of Emonet ingestion, and many of the colleagues that are in Aquarius are also members of Emonet ingestion. So it's very easy for us, let's say, to keep track of this traffic and to make sure that your packages will be dealt with in the right way. Okay, that was my presentation. I did it a little bit faster, so you have still some time left. Sissy, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, Dick, for
No, it's fine.
pressing you a little bit, but
Perfect.
it's always very difficult to follow the agenda in such a precise way. But thank you for the very useful information that you gave us. And I think now if we go back to the agenda, oh yes, we finished the presentations and we are in the Q&A session. So let me check if what we have in the chat. So I don't see any questions on the chat, but please. I understand that you need some time to ingest all this, digest all this information that we gave you today. I hope we were clear and informative quite enough. But please feel free to ask what you feel that you have some that you need some more information in order to discuss it here and continue with the next steps of our activities in Aquarius project.
It will also be very important, of course, that say the first thing we do, we have already received your initial data management plans. And that's something that let's say as work package 6, we will start to do a review of this and then come back to you to maybe to refine those data management plans. Another thing is, of course, that we have to wait also for the logistics, let's say, when the different TA project will start, because that's something, of course, that's still under development. And in that way, we can also spread then the efforts that we need, let's say, to support you over time, say, depending on your duration of your projects, especially let's say the start and the end of your field work. Because after your field work, let's say, we come more in the let's say in the circles of dealing with the data.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I see a comment on the chat for some information that we would like to give you a review actually of existing material and web resources and the literature to become more familiar with the FAIR concept. We think that you will find it useful, so please advise this. In the meanwhile, as I do not see any questions on the chat or maybe any hands raised. One new message. Okay, there is a question for Ruben. Just to be clear, if the data providers are already working on OBIS or GBIF node and the data is flowing there, data providers can simply trust it, will also end in Emonet DO and EuroBIS? Ruben?
Yeah, I can take it. Thanks, Cici, and thank you, Victoria. So yes, the answer is yes. As I mentioned, OBIS, GBIF, and Emonet collaborate. So the OBIS nodes and the GBIF node collaborate with Emonet Biology. So if you are already, let's say in your institution, already in collaboration through another project with another OBIS node, another GBIF node, or with Emonet, you can trust that channel, and that channel will bring the data to Emonet and the DDO for sure.
There's only one but, is that you should make a reference, of course, to the Aquarius project in your submissions, because that's very important. And secondly, let's say the summary log that we want from everybody to do the summary log, no matter if they have already arrangements for later data. But we need the metadata overview complete for every project.
Yes, indeed. It's a practice that we followed also in the previous Eurofit Plus project, and it worked very well. So also many of the projects in the previous project were well prepared and use all the appropriate metadata that were needed. And finally, the data and the metadata ended in a very good shape in the repositories and the infrastructures that we mentioned before. I think we were very clear and people are satisfied with all this material, and I see no questions. But maybe we should leave some time to people to ingest all this information. So maybe we should go to the activities for the coming period, and maybe people have some more time to think on that and to make some questions if they had not follow something very clearly. So can we go to the next slide with for the follow-up actions for the next period? We thought that it would be useful. Can we go to the next slide? We thought that it would be useful to summarize for the actually the first project, normally according to the program so far, will start this autumn, September. So the project should immediately start with the data management flow scheme that we presented and the steps that they have to follow. So we thought that in these few slides we could give you what are the next steps in this activity in order to help you to better organize your future activities. And we start with the transnational access project teams. What you should do prior the events. Dick explained that the data management. Dick explained that now we are reviewing. We will review your plans, your initial plans by July, and we will contact you in order to complete the initial plans to the full data management plans. Okay, and this have to be done this summer. And also, when it's appropriate, Maris will supply you with a tablet in order to start practice with the TA summary log app. I think it will be as soon as the evaluation is finalized and the contracts are signed, you have to start with. We will start with these activities. This concern prior the events, the period prior the activities, the collection activities. And for those that will start this September, we have to finalize the data management plans earlier, July, August. We should be ready. Okay. Are there any questions for that, or any something that would like to better make it clear? Okay, so during the events, as Dick said, you should complete these logs and on a daily basis. Keep as much metadata, as main metadata as possible, because it's very, very important for the later steps of the data management plan. On a daily basis, it would be preferable. So when you come back after the events, you need to send these logs to your allocated data centers. You will know which data centers will be, because we will contact you within June, July. We will contact you, as I said, both to send you our feedbacks for the data management plan. So please send to your allocated data center this information, the logs, the metadata logs. Just to remind you, if the events concerns research vessels cruises, you also need to prepare the SeaDataNet cruise summary reports and submit them within 1 month after the cruise. In the previous Eurofins project, this worked very well. Of course, the data centers supported many projects who could not really manage Mikado or complete or prepare the XML file, but we are here to do the job together and then submit it in the SeaDataNet catalog, either by yourself. Many PIs managed it well before, or with the help from us from the data centers. So another important step, of course, after the the events is to start the process of the analysis, the cleaning of the raw data, and also when this process, the cleaning and the quality control, the basic quality control, of course, that you are always applying to your data, and the laboratory analysis is completed, we will submit this processed data to the IDMONet ingestion, as it was explained in the previous presentation. If you need an embargo period for your data, or if you need a DOI, you can use the SINOE service. Okay. But notice that all this, the embargo period should end with the end of the Aquarius project. Otherwise, we will not be able to properly integrate your data into this landscape that we mentioned before. And you will not have the chance to use your data into the Blue Cloud environment, to use its applications and all these very, very useful tools and applications that Blue Cloud is offering for practicing and analyzing your data, and create additional projects from those that you are planning to do within your own research. So it's important to fix the issue with the embargo period well before the end of the Aquarius project. Okay, are there any questions so far? So let's go to the next step, to the next slide, which concern the next activities that we are expecting for you. We would like you, as we explained, to download from the CDataNet sites that you will find in the presentation, the tools that I mentioned, the Mikado, Nemo, and Octopus, and start practicing with the reformatting of the tools, because all this process will make more easy and more fast the integration of your data into the research and the research thematics and data management in the infrastructures. And of course, anything you need, you can always contact us. We've done that in the previous Eurofield project, and we will continue doing that. So try to play with your data and adapt your data files to the Nemo model that is provided to you. So try to practice and contact us if you need some further information. So if there are questions here from the teams. Or any hands raised? I don't see any. I don't know if, Bernie, do you see something? But I do not see any. So we are very clear, and I'm very happy for that, I would say. So, okay, let's go to the next slide. I think that, yeah. So I think that we think that some more information for the data centers would be useful. So as the evaluation process is almost finalized, we will schedule a meeting. The leader of this activity is Work Package 6 leader, Dick Sharp. We will schedule a meeting between June, mid-July, in order to assign the data centers to the appropriate TA projects, depending on the data type and the region. And for those projects that are planned for this autumn, September, the data centers should review the initial data plans and contact the teams in order to discuss any possible refinement that is needed to their plans. Okay, in all the period, the data center should monitor the activities and the process of the data that the teams are making, and provide feedbacks to the scientific teams. And also the plans, as we said, should be ready 1 month prior the events, in order to the teams and we to have time to organize the work that will follow after the event. So 1 month prior the events, the plan should be ready. This means that for the September projects in August, we should be ready. Early September, we should be ready. We should have ready the plans, the data management plans. So this is prior the events. After the events, we, the data centers, will use the logs, the summary logs metadata files, to have a better overview of what have been collected and interact with the teams and discuss and fine-tune the processing and the deliveries. Also, we will contact you because we will follow, as I said, the process of this of data and metadata, and if needed, we will contact you for the CSR, for the query summary reports, in order to be submitted in the CDataNet. And when your data will be ready, we will submit them together if needed, or by yourself. It's immonetization facility is very easy to use, so you can go on with the submission of the completed data. And be aware that we will organize training events all these periods when needed and where needed to coach and support you with all these data processing steps that are required for formatting and finalization the data sets. Are we okay with that? Well, I see no questions, so I think we are okay.
No questions.
No questions. So
I think that's a good indication how clear everything was.
Everything is crystal clear, and we will have a very good,
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, so we are almost there. I would like to thank you all for your participation in this data management webinar. We will have the opportunities in the coming months to have more close contact, and we hope it was informative and useful for you, this webinar. Please remember, contact us for anything that you may need in this activity. And as we said in the beginning, the recordings will be available on the website, and you will be notified for that. Thank you again for your participation, and I wish successful upcoming data collection events and bring back many data. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you so much.
bye-bye, everybody.
Ciao.